President Biden is in Dublin as part of his multi-day trip to Ireland and Northern Ireland.
That's right. He is focusing on his political agenda and strengthening ties specifically. Mr. Biden met with both the Irish president and prime minister before making his way over to Parliament today. There he's addressing the growing relationship with Ireland.
Joining us now from Dublin is CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang. Hey there, Weijia. So talk to us about the purpose of the trip. Does the White House feel like they have accomplished what they set out to do?
Lana and Earl, it is always great to be with you. And certainly I think it's no surprise that this was a trip in the president's official capacity as the leader of the United States, and also in his personal capacity as someone who is deeply proud of his Irish heritage. And I think that he would say that both have been accomplished. On the official front, he, of course, began his trip in Northern Ireland by marking the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement, something that also came up while he is here in Ireland, meeting with officials, really trying to stress the importance of sustaining that U.S. broker deal, really trying to link the idea of peace with prosperity, saying that the two have to coexist together. The president also wanted to strengthen ties between Ireland and the U.S. Of course, it is a fellow member of NATO, and they did also discuss the Russian aggression in Ukraine. Ireland has taken in some 80,000 refugees since that war unfolded, and so the president was able to talk again about the importance of that. So that is what he continues to do. And then on the personal side, he has already had a host of events that focused on his genealogy, that traced his roots. He visited a local pub in the town where his mother is from, his father, I should say, and then tomorrow he is heading to a huge celebration in another part of the country where his father has roots. And so this has been a very personal trip for the president, and we expect, just like we have seen, guys, thousands of people to wait just to get a glimpse and maybe even hear from him directly.
So interesting. I knew he couldn't avoid the pub. I knew that was going to pop up at some point during this trip.
I knew he couldn't avoid the ice cream.
Exactly, from yesterday. Well, Weijia,
the ice cream's for sure. The pub is another thing. But, know, Errol, I heard you saying that, and you're right. But this is a president who doesn't drink alcohol, so he didn't have a pint of Guinness, but he was certainly there for the festivities and the ambiance, and seeing huge signs everywhere that said "Welcome home."
And it's the duality of the trip: official business for the country and some personal items for the president. But he did announce that his administration is now unveiling a new plan to expand health coverage to DACA recipients. Why make that announcement now, and what can you tell us about it?
That's right. So DACA was a U.S. policy that was put into place when he was the vice president in the Obama administration, which gives those children who were brought here illegally a path to citizenship. And now the Biden administration is proposing that they have a path to health care. And so the Department of Health and Human Services unveiled this plan, which really relies on two very simple words, which is lawful presence, which would give these DACA recipients that status. And you have to have lawful presence in the United States in order to apply for Medicaid, in order to apply for children's programs that offer aid for health care. And so that is what they are pushing. But it's no surprise that they will face some pushback from conservative Republicans who want to scale back Medicaid as it is, as well as from others who are pushing, trying to get rid of the DACA program altogether. As for the timing, this isn't something that just popped up. The Department of Health and Human Services has been working on this, and so they were able to make this formal announcement. I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that the president is not physically there right now, but certainly, this is something that he'll continue to champion for in the coming days.
All right. Great to see you. Weijia Jiang joining us from Dublin today.
Thanks, Weijia.